Hi, everybody. This is day 1328. A lot going on because everything changed. Everything changed in Richard's case when we received the parking lot canine, the Kin of Berlin, the Kin of Berlin canine traffic stop in a parking lot at midnight. I mean, it sounds like a story, is a bad story, a criminal story, and it is. It's absolutely criminal. And we know that the SJAs, I'll bring it up, and um, the generals uh, did a lot of violation, lots of violation. They are just so criminal. Sean Bernabe needs to be stripped. Um, Matlock needs to be stripped. Clem Coward needs to be stripped. The SJAs, PP McGee needs to be stripped. So let's, oh yeah, these are for so many reasons. Um, and the pain and suffering. The cult being culpable of the murder of Richard. I really believe that now this implicates these generals in the murder of Richard. Um, and that's why Clem Coward didn't look for Richard. That's why Matlock didn't look for Richard. That's why they covered and covered Donna Martin. Absolutely. McConville, Garrett, who, I think he has some shady deals going on, like Mealy. They're so shady. They have betrayed us in every way. These 44 four-star generals and admirals, 85,000 missing children from Fort Bliss. Just the thought of that. And then all of our military installations kept so unsecured, our weapons so unsecured. We are getting reports that in 2019 there was an audit, and the audit did not look good. A special weapons audit that was conducted in 2019. That just shows you that there was a security problem, and of course, um, there was one because we know of the Walmart mass shooting, M4s, right? The M4s and the brown tip bullets. The M4s and the brown tip bullets. And it's not me saying this. These are all you can find, um, the many, and I have them listed here, the many reports from Army Times and KVA. Not even friendly. These are not even friendly media, and they have to report it. Um, the many breaches in protocol, the many breaches in the security of our military installations, and now you have um, this very this very whoever sent us, whoever sending us this video of Richard, and he looks so beautiful, y'all. He's so beautiful, so respectful, so with it, absolutely in self-control of all, his whole self, his whole beautiful self, and so respectful and standing at attention, being so respectful to these criminals, right? The Ken Canine Cop of the Ken of Berlin, right? Ken of Berlin Rocha, the stripper, um, who also is implicated, and is a prime suspect in what happened to Richard, and obstructing justice, and So she needs to be arrested. She absolutely needs to be arrested. Jesus Melendez needs to be arrested. This other cop, gosh, I don't know why I always forget his name, but I do. But it's here. My husband knows it. Already has a picture on our wall, so we don't forget who these criminals are, who these criminals are, um, so that we can turn them all in when this is all broken. But this was a huge breaking moment, a huge breaking moment, because it shows that Richard absolutely was framed, that he was totally with it, beautiful, respectful, passed every test. Everybody we've showed the videos to are like, oh my gosh, our military, they are criminal. What's going on in El Paso? They are criminal. They are absolute criminal, because Richard looks so good. He looks so good, and he's so beautiful, and quite the opposite of some of these vile, vulgar um, people that we've had to deal with. And we believe they're just agents. They're either implicated in this case, or they're agents, paid, political agents, whatever, um, because everything is political. And in El Paso with Trump, it was so political that they felt they must have been losing a lot of money because of closing down the border, uh, or really, um, closing down the war machine. Um, they were losing a lot of money, and or demanding secure installations, demanding audits of the weapons and the ammunition, um, demanding some kind of integrity and morality. Absolutely something, because let me tell you, they hated Trump so much there in El Paso. They hated him. I mean, you saw that with Veronica Escobar. She refused to even meet with the President of the United States. She hated him so bad. And her husband does all that border stuff. He's uh, you know border stuff. Who knows? I mean, let me tell you, anyone at that time that was a representative of the people and didn't want to meet with the president coming there after a mass shooting, she is absolutely suspect in this scheme. And they hated him so much that they orchestrated a mass shooting on their own people. On their own people. And how did Richard play a role in all of this? Because he reported. He was a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower, even though I think, well, we know that they were doing an audit. Okay, we know they were conducting an audit on the weapons because Brigadier General Stewart said so. And Dirty Agent Marlon Soto corroborated. And Dirty, oh gosh, just traitor Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe corroborated. We knew that the barracks were flush with weapons, that they were finding weapons, because there's all kinds of reports. You can look, you could just do a 5-minute little check. It wouldn't even take you 5 minutes. And you can see the problem with unregistered weapons, the barracks flush with weapons, weapons discrepancies, finding a weapon laying right in the middle of Fort Bliss Fort Bliss, just finding a weapon, just laying there in the middle of the road, um, right Fort Bliss. I mean, there's story after story after story of, find getting caught at the border with a truckload of ammunition. I mean, a full tactical move storage unit full of ammunition, and then here, so they orchestrate to divert attention from their criminal activities. Okay, because think about how it's just they like to sell things that's not theirs, right? They like to sell things that are not theirs. They are absolute thieves. And they're in charge of American assets, and they sell them. They are absolute thieves. And on top of that, traitors. Thieves and traitors. There's no honor amongst thieves. None. They are absolute thieves. And it gets really, really bad there. But they wanted to divert that attention. And so they orchestrated, and we know we have intelligence that Thomas Kane and Ann Ogle were studying this kind of stuff. Okay? They were studying this kind of stuff. So they are really suspect. And they orchestrated a mass shooting. And please God, let it not be true. But the intelligence that we're getting is M4s. Well, M4s comes from Glendon Oakley Jr., right? And so the intelligence that we're getting, that being military weapons used for and provided by Fort Bliss. And who would have to know? Of course, Kane, who we have a letter from that absolutely mentions Richard, that absolutely says there's a security problem on Fort Bliss. And, so it's very clear when you put all these pieces together. 3.5 years of all of this, and the reaction of all of this, and where the vulgar, vile phone calls led to, right? Where these connections led to, because we traced them, and what this is all about. It was very, very political. It was to keep the gravy train rolling, the theft. They wanted to keep stealing from the American people, right? They wanted to keep that going. That's a lot of money. And so they orchestrated that mass shooting to kill their own people, to divert attention from their crime so that they could keep the criminal gravy train going. It's just so disgusting. And Glendon Oakley Jr. lost his life. And of course, Richard too. And this was to discredit President Trump. Whether you voted for him or not, it doesn't matter. It matters that they orchestrated this mass shooting, the murder of their own people, the the fear, can you imagine the fear? Put God that, oh, it's some kind of racist. No, it had nothing to do with racism. Nothing. These are just greedy thieves that have no respect for, that orchestrated this. And you see that it had nothing to do with race, because you have involved in this Ernest Christopher Grant and Donna Sifford. Okay? And it goes on and on. And on and on. To trying to think of all these names, but it has everything to do with politics and keeping the war machine going, to keep the gravy train going. That's what it has everything to do with political policies. And they were just, willing to kill their own. Yeah. Create mayhem. And Richard standing at attention. Respectful. Beautiful. Whistleblower. Distinguished honor graduate. Was not going to have anything to do with these criminals. He'd rather burn his money than spend it on blow. Remember that. That was his message. And he absolutely took a stand against these evil deviants, traitors. But Sean Bernabe didn't. The generals didn't. The SJAs didn't. They lied to us over and over again. They lied to us. And I would reach out to Brigadier General David Stewart. I don't know what you want your legacy to be. I don't know what your wife wants your legacy to be. I don't know. I don't know what is really worth it for you. I don't know. I don't know the total caliber of your personality, your character, your integrity. Because I saw it just drain out in front of my own eyes over the months. But I'd reach out to him. To that general. And I don't know what they did to him. He might not even still be in. Because I believe that out of all of those generals, he had a smidgen of integrity. The rest, I think, sold their soul to Satan. Traitors, maybe to an enemy country. Maybe to, not even an enemy country, maybe to a foreign country to serve them. Because they absolutely are traitors. And they absolutely lied to us about what happened that night. Now, we didn't believe them, but we didn't have the videos to prove them wrong. We had a very tired picture. The videos of that parking lot traffic stop by the Billings Ken K9 cop at midnight was 2 hours long. So whenever they took the picture of him It was probably close to 3 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, that was a tired picture. But we looked closely at his eyes and we said, no, he was okay. He was okay. And the videos, 2 hour video, absolutely show him better than okay. They show they show him respectful. They showed him in full control of himself, totally passing the sobriety test, hands down, and then some. And totally respectful and beautiful and kind. And not a foul word. Not one foul word. Not that that matters, because this was really a violation against his civil rights. But it does matter what happened because of what the SJA told us, P.P. McGee, what Sean Bernabe had told us, what the CID told us, what is left out of the 800-page CID. Because you see, that incident on January 27th, 28th, 2020 is the foundation, the pretext for everything else. Everything. That was the pretext for everything. And they lied. They lied, which changes everything. We knew months ago that they lied to us about the results of that, because Richard had always maintained his innocence. We didn't really understand the pretrial diversion, which exonerated Richard. We didn't understand that. We do now. And we were really upset and absolutely now fully suspicious of Richard's U.S. Army command that's in charge of Patriot missiles, that's in charge of our volunteer sons and daughters, that's in charge. Rob could explain it to me more, the amount of equipment, the amount of firepower, the amount of strength that they're in charge of. And they are absolute traitors and lied to us about Richard. We're so suspect of them. We were a few months ago, but now with the video, clear, hard evidence of our beautiful, distinguished honor graduate son, America's finest, right? Our soldiers are our finest, right? That's what we always say. One of our finest. Richard, distinguished honor graduate, absolutely one of our. And shows it in this video. And what's so important is that they did not have his back. They have an obligation to care for our volunteer sons and daughters. You know, we want them to be safe. We know when they join the military that they might have to face an enemy and defend the Constitution. But when they are on a military installation in their own country, the leadership has a duty to safeguard them, to secure that military base. I've been around the military so long that our whole country was safeguarded, that we didn't have to close the gates of our military installations because our country was safeguarded. I absolutely remember free and open military installations. And here we are throwing more and more money in for safety, for the defense of our Constitution, and it's getting more and more dangerous. And now, with leaders like this, who needs enemies? Because the leaders themselves are our enemies. The leaders themselves, our leaders, Sean Bernabe is our enemy. Michael Garrett is our enemy. Clem Coward is our enemy. Mealy is our enemy. James McConville is our enemy. Because they were not safeguarding our volunteer soldiers. They were not securing our military installations. And absolutely, Donna Martin, she is the IG right now. She was the CID. Vanessa Guillen got sexually assaulted, bludgeoned with a hammer, cut up into pieces, burnt, buried in a foxhole, covered in lime and concrete, under her watch. Austin Hawke was brutally murdered in his barracks room on Fort Stewart by his previous sergeant because he whistleblowed on him and he was kicked out of the army, and he got back onto the military installation, collaborated with another soldier, with a key entered into Austin Hawke's o'clock in the morning, and Austin Hawke was brutally stabbed, I think 40 times just to the head. Now, this is on our military installation. Our leaders are our enemies. Richard was a whistleblower. Richard was that January night when he was being framed. Even being framed, he was respectful. And the leaders didn't have his back. The leaders not only didn't have his back, but proceeded to join in on the frame job, the setup job, the retaliation, the continuous severe retaliation, the pain, the suffering that they inflicted on Richard, and then ended in his forced disappearance, his murder, his brutal dismemberment, and this cover-up. And we have now this video to show that all of that, they lied to us about it because it was the pretext for the permanent GOMAR. It was the pretext for the bullying. It was the pretext for the field grade Article 15. It was the pretext for the assault. It was the pretext for the 45 days of extra duty wearing full battle gear with a mask, giving him only 4 hours a day allowed for sleeping. It was the pretext for taking 3 ranks from him. It was the pretext for his forced disappearance and his murder. And they then kept it a secret, until we called. When we got there, they started lying to us. They lied to us before we got there. With Allie Payne, Lieutenant Colonel Allie Payne lied to us. And we were told she's a mouthpiece for Matlock. She's a mouthpiece for Sean Bernabe. She's a mouthpiece for Clem Coward. She was a mouthpiece for these generals. And she lied to us, and they lied to Stars and Stripes. And Stars and Stripes, Rose Thayer, you need to retract and issue an apology to Richard, because you called him a drunk driver. And he was nothing of that. Nothing. And that is on my list to write her a letter. Please, if you're listening out there, write her a letter. Rose Thayer of Stars and Stripes perpetuated the lie. And we were lied to over and over again. Well, you know what? Those are violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and then some, and then some. So they violated, just in the UCMJ, they violated Article 107. Making false statements about this video is a violation of Article 107. You can't give us misleading information, false and misleading information. They also obstructed justice, which is a violation of Article 134. Just a couple examples, which is I mean, how do I explain it better than obstruction of justice? They need to be held accountable for that. And if that's not enough, falsifying or lying about evidence is also a violation of conduct or acting unbecoming of an officer, which is a violation of Article 133 in the UCMJ. And if that's not enough, they misrepresented evidence that damages a reputation and the credibility of the military. Richard was a distinguished honor graduate for his cycle in basic training, and you damaged that reputation, that credibility of the military, which is a violation of Article 134. Prejudice. And we want redress for the harm that they have caused, for just the inhumane treatment. So much harm. So much harm. And they need to be held accountable. They are our enemies, y'all. They need to be shown as our enemies. We have to strip them of our uniforms and our stars and our stripes. They have robbed us. They have abused us. They have discredited our military. They frauded us. It is just absolutely heartbreaking. And if we wait for someone else to do something, nothing will be done. Nothing will be done. And this was also an assault on President Trump. The reason why they even framed Richard that night, January 2020, was because he was a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower for what happened on that August 3rd, 2019 mass shooting that was absolutely targeted at discrediting, at blaming, at smearing President Trump and his supporters and the MAGA movement. Absolutely. And our country. It was assault on our country. And the very people, you see, them lying to us about January 27th is them covering up for the mass shooting. So they are going against their own commander, their own president. It's so treasonous. The implications of it. They have no honor. They cannot be able to wear our uniforms, our stars and stripes, and receive all the benefits from that service when they are traitors. The worst type. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Freddie. This is an assault on El Paso, on the people that died, the families that died. And then Glendon Oakley Jr. And look, this whole thing with Patrick Crucius. Where is Judge Medrano? At least, the least that he could have done in 5 years. 6 months, he says. 6 months I've had this case, which is a bunch of baloney, right? Baloney. Because there's article after article. He's had this case for so long. The least he could have done is issue a scheduling order so that everyone would know that Patrick Crucius has a severe mental health condition. At least a mental health evaluation. But they haven't even done that. Nothing. 5 years. Okay? What does it take for the community to understand, and I think they understand, to know this is a frame job, that this is a leaving this case in pieces, because it will show that it is connected to Richard, that it is connected to Richard through 3905 Bliss Avenue, that it is connected to Richard through Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and Danae Katzen and the whole Boleyn and her kin, the canine cop, and to the military, and to the audits of the weapons that they failed. Because, look, the Pentagon has failed all their audits. The Pentagon has failed their audits. Trillions of dollars. There's a pattern there. There is evidence there that corroborates what Team Find Richard Halliday and investigative journalists and other whistleblowers, such as Glendon Oakley Jr., such as whistleblowers that have given us intelligence, what they are saying. And now we have the El Paso Police Department. Thank you so much for this video, for these videos, because they absolutely corroborate that what happened to Richard was a frame. What happened to Richard was a retaliation against his whistleblowing, which corroborates the intelligence that we're getting that Richard's complaints came before August 3rd, 2019, the Walmart mass shooting, and that the Walmart mass shooting was not anything to do with white supremacy, no race hating, nothing, because even Patrick Crucius in court denied even being a racist. But we don't even get anything from the judge to evaluate him, right? But it corroborates that the mass shooting intention was to divert attention from the audits, from the crime going on Fort Bliss. And that's why Glendon Oakley Jr. saw M4s. That's why there were brown tip bullets there at the scene. That's why Dallas Hart apparently goes AWOL. And that's why they put out this narrative and they run it with all these different medias to smear Trump and his supporters and Americans, because, make America great again, and Trump supporters, those are Americans. This was absolutely an attack on him. And that diversion then led to being able to discredit Richard with this frame job in January 27th, 2020. And then a continuous, severe laundry list of retaliation for nothing. For what I've been saying from the very beginning with Team Find Richard Halliday, all of their investigation leading to nothing. Where is the evidence? They didn't give it to us because the evidence exonerates Richard. And it shows not only an exoneration of Richard, but a beautiful young man that's a distinguished honor graduate standing at attention with passing every test and being respectful, even to those that are up to no good, framing him, trying to frame him. And that implicates absolutely Major General Clem Coward, General Michael Garrett, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick, who has affiliations with something really, really bad, y'all. I'm just saying. He's really bad. He's not even wearing the star. He's really bad. They're all really bad. They're all really bad, but we've got that affiliation. And they're affiliated, of course, with Christopher Grant, who we're getting intelligence that there's this other veteran guy manipulating, being so bold that he feels like he can give Humvees away that belong to the American people on Fort Bliss. Oh, those aren't being used, so I can just give you a Humvee. What? Now that needs to be investigated more. They're just, if they leave Afghanistan with all that equipment behind, and Millie's like, you know that they sold that. They already have money in their pocket from that that equipment that they left behind, and that's why they couldn't bring it back and made stupid excuses. These are not leaders. These are criminals. Criminals. And we are making it possible for them to continue their criminal actions, which is a security threat against every one of our volunteer sons and daughters that join to serve the military, to serve really, to serve our country and defend the Constitution. So I'm, we want redress. We want accountability. And I think everything changed this last week again. It's kind of like that day when we found out who Nadal Baim was. What? He's a nobody? No, I don't think so. He's the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado. And Bugado, he's not just nobody either. He's got some connections. They all have all these connections. Like Nietos, working for intelligence, working for FBI, got the CID connection with Soto. And I'm wondering, the new CID there in El Paso, Olga Morales, what is she doing? What is she doing? Yeah, it's yeah, I'm a little full of vim and vigor today because looking up the UCMJ violations, and there's so many. There's so many, y'all. And it's so easy to find all their violations, but then when you look at Richard, you don't find any. I'm like, what do you have against him? And they have nothing. They have nothing. And then I look up violations that they've committed, and it is a laundry list. A laundry list. Thank you so much for coming on, everybody. And please share this. Please share, and thank you for sticking with us, and having that just wherewithal, the love for our country, the love for our soldiers, the love for Richard. You know, so we are looking at releasing those videos. I think it's very important for people to see Richard so beautiful. And we will, yeah, we're looking into that. Okay, thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your love and prayers.